Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry, surrounded by giant scorpions and man-eating crocodiles.
That was a close one. It's time to venture into the past again. I know it may seem like I've always been into the NES since it's featured so much on my channel, and I do love collecting and playing them, but growing up, my first real system was the Super Nintendo. So today, we're looking at another SNES game from my childhood. Here we have Pitfall, the Mayan adventure. The original Pitfall is one of the most recognizable video games of all time. Released for the Atari 2600 in 1982, the game's simple premise and colorful graphics had players from all over jumping over pits and searching for treasure. Many people consider this to be the very first platforming game. Designed by David Crane, the same creator as A Boy and His Blob, and yes, the only voice actor in Space Shuttle Project, the game was a hit. The main character, Pitfall Harry, easily ranks up there with the most classic video game characters, such as Mario and Sonic. However, unlike Mario and Sonic, Pitfall Harry would eventually fade into obscurity. So I've decided to give this series its dues and review one of its lesser known sequels, Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. The game begins in the Mayan jungle, with Pitfall Harry's son, Pitfall Harry Jr., entering an ancient temple where he finds a treasure, which is a golden statue replica of himself. That's kinda weird. Like, imagine if Indiana Jones was looking for some treasure and it ended up being a statue of himself. Anyway, Junior tries to show off his disturbing discovery when his dad gets kidnapped by someone. Or dad-napped, I guess. From there you can start the game. The setting is dark but detailed. Enemies and obstacles you have to deal with include snakes, monkeys, warthogs, and of course the classic pits. Wow, was that a reference to the Terminator? You have a wide range of attacks to get yourself through, your main melee attack being this belt-like thing that you can smack enemies around with. Other weapons you find include rocks that you can chuck at enemies, boomerangs, and mini nuclear bombs. Whatever works, I guess. You also collect hearts for health, but instead of those cartoony Valentine's hearts, they're actual live beating hearts. Yeah, I guess it takes a lot to survive in the jungle. The one issue I've noticed right away is that all of the actions seem to have a split-second delay to them. It's not bad enough to ruin the controls, but it's something that you'll need to get used to for some of the harder segments later on. Something I really have to praise this game on is the animation. Every single thing that Junior does is incredibly detailed. Whoa, seriously, they put a lot of work into this game. Ow. Yeah, there's even an animation for running into walls, which is neat, but it can be annoying later on, so try to avoid that. Another interesting thing is how your damage is displayed. Instead of your traditional health bar, it shows a crocodile getting closer to eating you every time you get hit. It's kinda cool, but it does make it a bit harder to measure how close you are to losing a life. It can be a little confusing at first, swinging around on vines, running through different layers of the level, and bungee jumping on plants that make sound effects to remind me of Yoshi's Island. But these little statue checkpoints point you in the general direction you want to go. At the end of the level, you come up against a jaguar, and honestly it's pretty tough for the first boss. It takes about 1,000,000 hits to kill, and it's really hard to avoid damage the first time you fight it. What you should do is be patient and try to get the timing down between jumping and attacking with your rocks, which you should have plenty of by this point. This will be difficult at first, especially with the delayed controls, but you should be able to power your way through this fight eventually. The second level takes place in front of a rushing waterfall, which can be a little harsh on the eyes after the dark jungle from the first area. Besides that, you have much of the same enemies from before. You're also introduced to these giant mosquitoes, which are about as annoying as actual mosquitoes. The main challenge here is figuring out where you're supposed to go. Unlike the first level, this one focuses a lot on vertical platforming, with more bungee jumping and rocky platforms that disintegrate over time. Because the level looks so similar wherever you go, it can be easy to get stuck in a loop, and it doesn't help that progressing involves entering these secret caves that don't really stand out at all. Be as thorough as you can, and you should be able to find the exit eventually. You'll know you're close because you'll see these red birds flying around that try to stop you. See ya. The next level takes place inside of a mine, so thankfully our eyes are given a rest again with this cooling dark background. Here you're faced with bats, which are basically like upgraded versions of the mosquitoes, along with rats and spiders who pack a painful bite despite their small sizes. Oh, there's also a nice barrage of minecarts that you'll have to avoid. Did you think you're actually gonna ride in a minecart in this level? Nope. Well, you do get a ride on these wheeled platforms at least. This stage is much like the others where you're simply trying to make your way to the exit. But this time there's a little more added to your exploring, including crawling under blocked areas and pulling levers to progress. There's also a cool bonus stage located in this level, where you play a memory game in order to gain some treasure, or even an extra life if you do well enough. After wandering around enough, you'll come across that minecart stampede. Just avoid ending up like Mufasa, jump into the entrance above, and you're done with the level. Though I'm not really sure why, since it doesn't appear to lead outside of the mine. Either way, next up is the lost city of Copan. That's right, you're up to some serious stuff now. I wonder what kind of crazy enemies we'll run into here. Oh, maybe they started running a bit low on their budget or something? Actually, this out-of-place low-bit enemy is here to tell you that there's a bonus level nearby. Hop into the interdimensional portal and you're taken to the original Pitfall from 1982. Wow, what a treat. It may not seem like a big deal today, but having an older game within a sequel of the same series was really something special to see back when this game first came out. For a bonus fun fact, the sound you hear when swinging across a vine is supposed to be the Tarzan yell. So that's where these pixelated scorpions were coming from. Someone should probably board that portal up. So anyway, back to the Lost City. Here we're introduced to even more enemies and obstacles, including living skeletons, axe-wielding statues, and tar pits. The platforming stakes have been raised as well, with stones that will flip back and forth, and statue tongues that are unexpectedly bouncy. It's pretty much the same as before. If you're used to the controls by now, the jumping segments shouldn't take too long to get through. And these red chili peppers even increase your speed and jump height. Oh, there's also a boss at the end. Remember how you had to fight that one jaguar on the first level? Well, now you have to deal with two of them at the same time. It's easier than it sounds. They just take a lot of hits. There's plenty of space, so just evade and attack accordingly and you should be able to take care of them just fine. After that, you're up to the Copan Temple. Now there's more hazards than ever before. You have these live 2D paintings that will try to hit you with their spears, giant stone donuts, walls that shoot hot bursts of fire, spirits that will throw fire at you, and giant swinging balls of fire that sway back and forth. So yeah, they should just call this the Fire Temple. These many new dangers plus pretty much everything from the previous levels makes this a really easy place to lose some lives. But after enough time you should be able to get past it. And hey, you even get to show off your superiority to Indiana Jones by using 2 whips to get across gaps. After that you arrive at the rainforest, which looks sorta like a blue version of the jungle from the first level. It also has a lot more of these plants that shoot missiles at you. Wow, Mother Nature's getting out of hand here. There isn't too much else to say here. Being a later level, it's somewhat challenging but fairly short. After that you're at a lagoon, which just looks like the bottom of the waterfall level. I like that they added this though because there's some platforming segments where you jump on crocodiles, which is a cool callback to the original Pitfall. That being said, the jumping here can be a bit tricky since the way some platforms are lined up diagonally, you're not just estimating your jumps on a 2D plane, but sort of like a 3D perspective as well. Next up is a really interesting level. You return back to the minecart area, but instead of a normal jumping segment, you're riding a wheeled platform and jumping between different tracks in order to avoid obstacles. I find this part really fun. It's sorta similar to the Donkey Kong Country levels. Oh, not to mention there's freaking demon heads flying at you from behind. The next level is some ruins, which looks suspiciously like the Lost City, except at night. It's pretty much the same stuff as before. See, you even fight a jaguar boss at the end like the last. Whoa, okay, not a jaguar. It's a jaguar man thing. Yeah, if you thought that the bosses from before took a lot of hits, then you're in trouble. Besides a high health bar, the main difficulty here is just avoiding his attacks in general. It's much harder to do than with the normal jaguars. While he's in his humanoid form, simply trying to jump over him just won't do it. But I wasn't going to go down that easily. My best advice here would be to save up your little atomic bombs for when he's in his humanoid mode, since it stuns him, and then use your rocks for the rest of the fight. If you don't give up and keep trying, he should eventually go down. Seemed like some final boss stuff, didn't it? Well, it wasn't, because we still have one more level to get through. This is basically just a lever pulling marathon while avoiding many of the obstacles and enemies introduced throughout the game. The only notable addition being these spiked balls. There isn't anything particularly hard about this level, it's mainly just finding your way to the exit. After you've done that, you're finally finished. With the final level, that is. There's still a final boss, the Warrior Spirit. Yeah, that's right, this giant knockoff of the thing is the final boss of the game. And as intimidating as he is, he's actually quite easy to defeat, using a trick I figured out during my very first attempt to fight him. All you have to do is hug the walls as he's reforming, and then get some hits on him before he jumps away. He won't be able to hit you, and that's literally all there is to it. Repeat a bunch of times, and you've beaten the final boss of Pitfall, the Mayan adventure. But what about Junior's dad, Pitfall Harry? Wow. Yep, that's him. That's gotta be one of the best endings to a video game I've ever seen. So, Pitfall the Mayan Adventure. Was it a great Super Nintendo game? Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The animation is superb, but the controls are a bit off. There's several cool looking levels with new enemies in each one, but then they start to repeat backgrounds with minor color changes. I'm glad that there's a final boss, and bosses in general, but the bosses are somewhat repetitive and the final one is a bit of a pushover. That being said, the game was pretty fun, and it did a decent job of switching things up now and then. With a bit more polish and a little less repetition, it could have been a really great SNES title. Overall, I think it's fair to call it a good game. You know, as fun as it is to find old obscure gems that I've never played before, it's also fun once in a while to just go back and revisit some games from my childhood to see how they hold up today. The only thing I really regret is that I haven't really had a chance to review any modern games. Most of the modern games that come to mind wouldn't really inspire a review from me personally, though I have heard of these things called indie games that are supposed to be pretty interesting. But are they any good?